like to call to order this meeting of the Board of Education for the School District of La Crosse. We recognize that, well, we can't read that anymore, the Ho-Chunk Administrative Center, because we're meeting elsewhere. But this building occupies the land of the Ho-Chunk people. Please take a moment to celebrate and honor this ancestral Ho-Chunk land and the sacred lands of all Indigenous people. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mr. Alberts?
Here.
Mr. Vigneski?
Here.
Ms. Fuchs? Here. Dr. Garcia? Here. Mr. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Mako?
Here.
Mr. Neumeister?
Here.
Dr. Sprague?
Here.
Ms. Sukla?
Here. I do want to first of all say welcome before we move into the rest of our meeting. We are meeting here for the first time in this space. It was not planned. I was hoping we could have a lovely meeting where we all reminisced about the qualities of the Hogan Building. However, the Hogan Building opted to kick us out by having air conditioner not go well and create some unpleasant smells and such things. So we're here, and we're going to stay here. And I just want to explain why we're here. I appreciate the staff doing a great job of moving us here with the IT and everything that we have to do, the setup. So I just want to say thank you for that. And at some point, maybe in a future meeting, we can have a farewell to Hogan, because I think we should recognize that space. We were there for so long. So anyway, I want to explain that, and I want to welcome our students. We'll talk to you later in the meeting, but I just want to welcome you to our meeting. This is the first meeting for all of you. So with that said, a quorum of the board is present, and the regular scheduled meeting is September 8th, 2025 is called to order. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and face the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's agenda has been previously distributed to the board. At this time, I'd entertain a motion, unless there is a motion to amend.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. This evening, we have no public speakers. I'm not sure they could have found us anyway, but that's all right. No one signed up. So now we have a school showcase. I'll turn over to Dr. Engel.
Excited to have Mr. Garrett Fisher here. He's our principal at Northwoods International Elementary School, but also our summer school coordinator, and here to present a little bit on our summer school program this year.
All right, so I have the introduction ready. Thank you guys for taking some time to let me come up here and talk a little bit about summer school. I've been the summer school supervisor for a couple of years now, and it's been a real joy to get to work with everybody in the school district, and something that I really enjoy doing. So this is the first year that we're kind of doing a showcase. Just want to talk a little bit about what the programming looks like, but then also talk a little bit about some future plans and some of the feedback we've gotten from the community. And we've also got some pictures at the end, which are always great to see kids doing fun things in the summer. So first, talk about some of the highlights. One of the unique things about La Crosse in particular is this is one of the largest programs for sure in the Coulee region, but really of any other district in comparable size to La Crosse. We have 181 enrichment course offerings, so we kind of have there's really three things. There's high school credit classes, and then we have enrichment courses, and then we have what we call foundations. And foundations focuses mostly on our reading and math curriculum. And then enrichment is kind of a very broad, open programming depending on kind of what teachers want and are passionate about teaching. And the philosophy that I've kind of adopted with it is trying to limit barriers for teachers to have access to working with our kids. I think we have really great quality staff in La Crosse, and we want to increase opportunities for them to have contact and engagement with students over the summer. And that's really what our focus has been, is trying to give them those opportunities. So we have a lot of different offerings. We're pretty much running throughout the entire summer. Most programs operate in 1 month or a couple of weeks out of the summer. In surrounding districts, we are offering things as soon as we get out, basically all the way up until the last couple of days that we can offer programming. And it's really diverse because there's a lot of teachers that are very passionate about a whole variety of different things, from backpacking to art classes and cooking to even some more academic focused curriculum in the summer that they are able to get some students involved in. So that, the other thing that I think is a highlight is we've had a lot of families that have approved and been very supportive of the summer programming that we have. 82% of the respondents this year were either satisfied or very satisfied, and that's pretty consistent. We're always in that upper 80 to range for families that are happy with a lot of the programming and the options that we have. We've also been really working on building some of our community partnerships with the BGC and the Y Surround Care. Some of the other things that we've been kind of working on cultivating the last couple of years that came out of the pandemic was our partnership with the Crosse Community Theater, and that's been a really big hit. We have some really passionate former educators and current educators that are a part of that program and have worked really hard to grow that, and it's been a real big hit with a lot of families and even community members as a whole that love being a part of that and helping kids find different avenues to kind of partner with that. The focus too, again, is this is kind of the summer, kind of my perspective is a freeing kind of experience for even teachers. This is something that you can really work on, that hands-on experiential learning. You don't have to worry so much about all the different assessments and different things that you might be doing. It's kind of getting back into the love of teaching and working with kids and giving them opportunities to do exciting and fun things both in and outside the classroom. Another big highlight for this summer in particular was we worked really hard on building out our curriculum, and we had 2 teachers in particular, or staff members in the district, that worked hard on helping build our K through 5 curriculum so that we had something that any teacher coming in would have viable curriculum that they could use that would align with the standards and a lot of the coursework that we were already doing in the district. It was definitely things that we can expand upon, but a big improvement from kind of where we were in the last couple of years. When we're looking at, we do a survey at the end of the year too to kind of get feedback on how things have been going. And what you can see is a lot of families are involved. And it talks again about how you know, they're feeling good about some of the programming that we have. This kind of shows a lot of the schools that are used. We do use a lot of the buildings in the district, and there's pros and cons to that. One of the pros is that I know some of the folks are very passionate about their community schools and having them having programming close to them that kids can walk to. So we do have a lot of buildings that we do use over the summer. We use pretty much every building in the district in some capacity. Some obviously we use a lot more than others. That also presents some, you know, concerns too, is how do we make it equitable so that everybody has access to that programming. But definitely something that a lot of families have been supportive and improving of. And a lot of, you see with the other graph here that a lot of we did open up June foundations, which is something we're looking to continue to expand on as we move forward. And then some testimonials just from families. And I think you guys have access to this too, so if you want to read through some of these, you can see some of the things that families and different community members that were involved in summer school were talking about. And then this kind of talks a little bit about what are some of the barriers and some of the reasons you might not have chosen to participate. Scheduling conflicts, transportation, those are some of the bigger things. When you look at other, it really separates out into a bunch of other different things. But those are barriers that we're continually looking at trying to reduce and work through, and that kind of talks a little bit more about our opportunities for growth. So we're really looking at increasing our communication with staff and families. That's been something that we've been trying to sort out and get a little bit better. We've got some better communication platforms with Parent Square that were new to a lot of staff last year, and something that we're looking to build off more as we get into this upcoming summer. And then increasing our focus on our work with individual reading plans especially, and some of our intervention work over the summer. That's some of the things that were state mandated that we're going to have to get into, but something that we've had a focus on trying to build out our curriculum and make it a little bit more viable, and something that will carry over to long-lasting impacts in the school year. There's also always some confusion about how much students can participate in summer programming, and if things overlap, if they can participate in multiple programs. So just trying to clear up some of those different things with families and having the website a little bit more streamlined. Some of the other things we're looking at too is just looking at better ways for families to have their students go to one location instead of feeling like they have to drive their kids kind of all over the city to participate in programming. So that's something that we're trying to make a pathway for families that are looking for something a little bit more streamlined like that. And we did see a slight dip with a number of individual students that participated this summer. Some of the feedback was that, just with the condensed summer scheduling and some of the other things going on, that kind of impacted kids participating and families signing up. And then, again, just kind of extending off of that, where we want to go is, again, extending that access and finding more ways for students to participate, strengthening those community partnerships and continuing to look for ways to build out those partnerships with other folks in the area. And then continuing, like we talked about, increasing that curriculum and academic rigor and finding ways for us to bring research-based learning into the classroom setting, especially during that foundations program. And then continuing to look at other programming options and finding ways to reduce barriers. And then we've got some of the pictures. So again, we've got a wide range of things, whether it's theater programming. We had fly fishing go this summer, which to me is a big draw to the area. So I was glad that we could get some of that out there and enjoy some of that. We had a lot of different activities where kids were able to actually get on the water in some of the rivers in the surrounding area. We had our EL Science Adventures, which is a long-standing program that has a lot of different things that kids have been able to participate in and get access to things that kind of go beyond what they might be able to do during the school year. We had, again, lots of different things, art classes, and a lot of things that kids really enjoyed. Backpacking was expanded this year, which has been a really cool thing that kids get to do some actual overnight backpacking courses that we've been able to help support in collaboration with other community partnerships and the LPF. And we've got some mountain biking courses too that have been a big hit as well. And that's all we got.
So much, but I saw the 101 Dalmatians production at Logan Middle this summer that was a collaboration with LCT, and it was a riot. It was excellent. We've got lots of talented theater kids in this district.
Yeah, they're definitely very passionate about it, so we're really happy and proud to be working with them on that program.
As father of 2 Dalmatians for this summer, it was really, really fun.
They do a great job, and they're super passionate about it, and that's, I think, the biggest advantage to summer school is how do we reduce those barriers to give kids access to some, really quality people over the summer and have that continuation.
As someone who's participated in some of the summer school programs, I absolutely adore the wide variety of options you have. I did a trail work one over the summer a few years ago now, where the entire course was going around and cleaning up some of the trails for community members. And then there were a handful of more athlete-focused ones that I've been able to enjoy.
Yeah, lots of great opportunities through that. And some of it, too, is having a bigger impact on seeing where kids want to go with their future and giving them some access and opportunities to that. We've partnered with Brita to open access to some licensing programs, too, that help kids kind of further their education a little bit more than what they might be able to do during the school year and pursue some of those different career opportunities they might be interested in.
You had,
Go ahead.
you had a number of, first of all, I want to say, I love having speakers standing in front of us instead of at our feet. I just can't even tell you how excited I am about this. I hated that for 20-some years. So you had a number of students that were off-site. Backpacking things were that, or was their home like one of the schools and then they went out from that, or where were the off-site locations?
A lot of the backpack, it depends on kind of where staff have some of their materials and are set up a lot of times during the school year. The backpacking in particular happened at Longfellow because they have an outdoor club. And yeah, that's some of the really great things where we've been able to partner with Go Right Way to help provide some of the transportation at a little bit more reasonable rate for some of the more extended and longer range trips. But again, it does produce some barriers for students that don't have access maybe to even getting to that school or having some of those things. Something though that in working with a lot of the teachers, they've been able to recognize that and found some creative solutions and help them to sort some of that stuff out, and even looked at some ways to help sponsor them with maybe any additional funds or things that they might need to make the program functional for them.
So where were some of the off-site locations that the courses were at?
Yeah, so they went, for the backpacking, they went to Pictured Rocks for, I think it was 2 nights overnight. They went to Yellowstone River, which is in, not Yellowstone way out there, but close. We did have, with EL Science Adventures, they used to always go to Yellowstone, and we haven't, since the pandemic, been able to pick that back up. And that comes with some grant funding that's been able to support that. We also, there's the Summer on the Farm, which is super popular, and that's over actually in Minnesota, just across the river, where they have some programming over there. A little bit difficult for some families to get there. The fly fishing courses really started at State Road, and we picked that strategically because they have some streams and things that are close by that they could do some of the entomology and looking at the bugs and the ecology of the river, but then also expand that out and have some trips down to the Bohemian Valley, which is down kind of closer to Coon Valley. So.
Thank you.
I apologize if I missed this in your slides. What percentage of our total enrollment participates in a summer program?
So I think this year we had, I'd have to look. I don't have a number. We're finishing the summer school report right now. So typically we have, I don't want to make up a number. I'll look it up and I can definitely share that with you guys.
Yeah.
I can give it to Laura and she can pass it along.
It's typically been a quarter to a third of
Yeah.
individual students. Sure.
Other questions? Well, thank you. It's a great program.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, then we will move on to the superintendent consent agenda. The consent agenda is a mechanism used by the board to deal with routine business that must come before the body. Are there any, I move from the consent agenda. The only one was the HR approvals. How are we doing on hiring?
Good. I think the last time I looked at the HR board, there were 2 teacher vacancies and 4 TA vacancies, maybe 6. So we're in really good position, much better than in prior years. And I think we've got people in place and ready to go for the teacher vacancies. So.
Sweet.
I'll make a motion to approve the items on the superintendent's consent agenda
Thank you.
as presented.
I'll second.
Motion and a second approve the superintendent's consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We then move on to the board consent agenda, where we have the minutes from our last meeting. The consent agenda is a mechanism used by the board to deal with routine business and must come before the body. Are there any items that members want to remove from the board consent agenda? Hearing none, I'd look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the board consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We then move on to matters reserved for board action. And our first one is the resolution proposal for the 2026 WASB Delegate Assembly. There's a document attached, and I know that Mr. Manka and Dr. Engel worked on it, so I'm going to turn it over to you two.
You want to start, Mr. Manka?
I'll let you go first. That's
Okay.
fine.
So Mr. Manka and I spent about an hour together looking at this issue. We started by looking at what the delegate assembly had approved the prior years. So we got the format for this is what they're going to want when we submit something. And then we also looked at what already exists in the WASB resolutions. Could we take something that's already existing and add on to that as an amendment, or do we need to create something new? And then we were also thinking, is there existing language in here that the school board association has already approved that we could mirror so it feels like it's in keeping with what has already been done? Mr. Mank and I went back and forth on 2 different provisions. One was private school aids, which got into vouchers and funding and different things that way. Then the other natural location was early childhood education funding and public-private partnerships. As we picked through both of those, I think Mr. Manka identified that this felt more like an early childhood issue than a voucher issue, even though they overlap in some ways. And I agreed with him. And so we sought to amend the existing resolution 3.241, early childhood partnerships. And what we did was we took the language from the voucher area and added it to this early childhood area, and felt like that was a good marrying of the two different things. So language from over here added to something over here. And what we came up with was all publicly funded 3K and 4K schools, including schools receiving voucher funding or funding through public agencies other than the DPI, must have the exact same accountability, reporting, and transparency standards and/or requirements. WASB supports a single funding mechanism for 4K education. Creating two publicly supported education systems threatens the sustainability of public schools. And then we got into the rationale. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Manka.
Yes, so I'd like to thank Aaron also for partnering with this as well. He was largely the brains behind, I was more so supporting, but I got a real good hand into this here too. Wanted to make sure that the language was kind of acceptable, what the board was talking through the table our last meeting, and kind of establish the needs of which, from which we heard at the board table. This resolution we're amending was put into the book last year, I believe, so it is a relatively new one, something which we can refresh out, and happy to hear some feedback.
Does this, I guess my question I'd put out to all of you is, does this language address what we talked about at the last meeting, our concerns about the new state budget putting the money in for childcare, and it kind of really dissolves a lot of the good work we've done with the lacrosse model that we invented in lacrosse for the 4-year-old kindergarten program, working with childcare facilities and preschools. And so we wanted to have some language to ask WASB to consider advocating on behalf of our model in our schools and our partnerships, that we have some standing that's now been taken away from us in the current funding. Any comments or questions? Yeah.
I like the new language. I appreciate both the tone and the rationale behind it. I think it cuts to the nature of the issue that we're facing. If I had a concern, I guess it would be for the WASB process for adoption, and if districts that had a significantly different model that were more in favor of what Get Kids Ready kind of created or allowed them to do, there'd be pushback or the possibility for amendment on that. But I think just the simple language of like funding through public agencies other than DPI, right? So the specific call there was DCW is the new agency. Children, DCF? DHS, excuse me, thank you.
DCF.
DC
Families, right.
Acronym.
So, yeah, putting multiple high-level agencies in charge of essentially the same service is needlessly redundant. Yeah.
Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, one thing I will say is this could very well be changed by the Rules Committee before it's brought to the actual delegation. I'll make sure to keep an eye on this as it goes through this, make sure to update the board, so when the state convention does come, or if, let's say, I miss it and you're there as well, that you have all the information available for kind of keeping a track on this as well.
And I think that's why our strategy was to try and use existing language from somewhere else to bring it over, so it felt familiar to the folks that were looking at this new language.
I think other districts that don't use our model, that are just school-only models, will probably support this, because it's it's detracting. I mean, I'm struggling with a school district that isn't being detracted from by this new legislation. And again, options for families are good, giving families a variety of choices with what works for them, but our model did that.
Yeah. I think the focus on the accountability issue
Yeah, that's a good
and the standards issue is what makes it probably more palatable to most people. So.
I did reach out to our local representatives and senator just to advocate on behalf of reconsidering this as we move forward, or to put in additional measures to ensure that it maintains the same high expectations for 4K education. And they expressed that biennium process is a compromise, and trying to get to a finish line was necessary, and this is one of those measures, and maybe there's an opportunity as we move forward to adjust policy to improve state law.
If there is no other discussion, we want a motion to approve this resolution and a second, and then it would be a roll call vote.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution proposal for the 2026 WASB Delegate Assembly as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion on the resolution? We'll take that roll call vote. We have to have a roll call vote for this, right? No, oh, I thought, mine says roll call vote, I'm just saying.
Does it?
Oh, no, that's for the next one. I'm ahead of it. Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Engel and Mr. Manka, for your work on that resolution, and I appreciate, I look forward to you representing it and presenting it at the WASB Delegate Conference in January. Okay, now the one where we're going to have a roll call. The 26-27 school year start date. For the public, I'm going to read the resolution, and then I'll let Dr. Engel speak to it. Whereas pursuant to Wisconsin statute, section 118.045, commencement of school term, the state of Wisconsin provides that public school districts cannot start prior to September 1st. And whereas the school board may commence a school term prior to September 1st if it submits a written request to the Department of Public Instruction asking for an earlier start date, listing the extraordinary reasons for earlier start date request. And whereas Chapter PI 27, commencement of school term, lists in quotes excessive costs associated with the transportation of pupils who attend private schools that start prior to September 1st, end quotes, as an extraordinary reason for the Department of Public Instruction may grant a request. And whereas the school district of La Crosse has made a good faith effort to work with private schools to coordinate a school start date on or after September 1st, and whereas 1,460 pupils, or 25% of pupils, attend private school located in the school district of La Crosse, subjecting the district to excessive costs of transporting private school pupils. Be it resolved that the school district of La Crosse is officially requesting approval to commence the school term prior to September 1st to alleviate the excessive costs associated with transporting pupils who attend private schools prior to September 1st by commencing the 2026-27 school year on August 20th, 2026. Be it resolved, further resolved, that on September 8th, 2025, the Board of Education for the School District of La Crosse passed this resolution to alleviate the excessive costs associated with transporting pupils who attend private school prior to September 1st. So I'll turn it over to you, and then we'll look for a motion on this resolution.
Yeah, so last year, we pursued this waiver with the DPI. We did so through the process of starting with our teaching staff and asking, like, is this a calendar you would be interested in? And the goal was to start earlier when we felt like kids and parents and teachers were ready to get back at school, and to end before June when we know our students are ready to be done and we feel like the opportunity for learning starts to decline. It would also offer the opportunity to provide a full week of spring break, which is something we've been hearing from our teachers for a number of years, and parents, as an opportunity to take a vacation during the school year. With the teacher kind of green light to explore this further, we sent out a survey to our families to gather their feedback. It was generally positive. And so then we pursued it with the state, and they approved the waiver after we went through this exact same process last year with the school board. We reflected with our teacher group again this year at the questions out there. There's been surprisingly very few. We felt like we wanted to commit to this for a period of time at least. I do know that another school district in our region has already applied for this waiver and received it by the DPI, so I'm confident that ours will be received well by the DPI as well with this resolution. So that's kind of the process and where we're at right now. And with new student reps, I am curious about your thoughts on starting. See, it doesn't matter as much for seniors because you graduate before Memorial Day weekend. But any thoughts on starting in August?
I would say personally, I really liked it. As someone who really only works during the summer, a full-time job, I really appreciated having a shorter summer. I would say as a senior, I definitely will appreciate ending early, so I have a longer period of time before I graduate and leave for college. I think other students definitely feel different, but I think it's nice that we could just start school, still have some good weather. It definitely impacts a lot of students' moods, and I think that it's a really nice way to end the school year, starting with a good, nice spring.
Okay, then in that case, I will say that the only I say major complaint very loosely that I have is a lot of sports schedules were decided well in advance. So we had golf is gone consistently. We have one of my teachers who teaches AP Economics. She is gone usually at least once a week, if not for the entire day. This week she will be gone for 2, which means that we miss out on a lot of valuable learning. And then the football team and a handful of other sports teams for the school are, because a lot of our non-conference games are further out of the area and school starts before that. We had teams that got back at about midnight on a Thursday because football games, although they're usually Friday, were scheduled for Thursdays because we didn't know we were starting school that early. So I had teammates who were struggling to stay awake because no matter what they could do, by the time you actually made it home.
At the middle schools at 8:25 instead of 7:35. We've seen it's developmentally appropriate for middle school brains. And so while that's not related to this per se, it's one of those other changes we made this year, which has been really positive. And despite starting in August, they're showing up and showing up on time, which is great.
Yeah, Scott?
I obviously the change is difficult on some parents. I think once they get used to it, it'll be better. However, a lot of people like that last holiday of the summer is kind of their last hurrah as a family, and a lot of people like to leave for a lot of times an entire week. So that obviously affects some people. But I also believe, you bet, later on this year, once it starts getting nice out and all of a sudden they're done with school, boy, that early school will be a nice change for them that they started earlier. But it takes some adjustment, and people don't like change sometimes, but honestly, we were forced to do this. If we didn't have to pay for that busing, it's a cost versus, starting earlier or later. It just made financial sense, and it's a decision that had to be made for that reason as well. And I think the teachers I think they will like it, given time, and the longer spring break's gonna be nice for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, Owen.
I will say, just because I lack the information on this, we had to converse with the private schools in the area before this, correct? And we were unable to reach a conclusion with them. What do we believe is the source of that? Do we think it's just private schools wanting to do their own thing, or is there statistical data that they were using to back that up?
Yeah, so as a part of this process, I reached out to our private school partners in the area and just inquired if they would be interested in starting on September 1st. We always invite a private school representative to our calendar committee so that they're a part of that from the start, and we try and align to the best of our ability. And they said that when they talk to their parents and students that starting early is when their families want to get back to school. It aligns with athletic calendars and practices, so they see higher participation in athletics and clubs. And it allows them to take breaks throughout the school year to kind of pace school so it's not overwhelming for folks. And they've found that their family break. And so for those very same reasons, we wanted to pursue something similar ever since the law was put in place. And so I reached out again this year to our private school partners, and they once again indicated that no, we would prefer to start in that third week of August. And so we're doing our best to align with them.
That was my question, so
Okay.
thank you. Yeah.
Jim, did you have a question? Okay. Any other comments or questions on this resolution? We'll need a roll call on this one.
Can I get a motion in a second, please?
Oh.
Make a motion to adopt the resolution regarding the 2026-27 school year start date. As
Second.
presented.
Okay.
Yes, I got it in there.
Mr. Alberts?
Aye.
Mr. Begneski?
Aye.
Ms. Fuchs?
Aye.
Dr. Garcia?
Aye.
Mr. Jackson?
Aye.
Mr. Manka?
Aye.
Mr. Newmeister?
Aye.
Dr. Sprague?
Aye.
Ms. Sukla?
Aye. Motion passes. We move on to the information section of the agenda, starting out with Results Monitoring Report R 2.3 Academic Performance. I'll turn over to Dr. Engel.
So especially for the benefit of our new student school board reps, this is one of those policies that we're monitoring. And so for the results policies, we try and split them up throughout the school year so that it's timely for when we get the results. And so the policy that we are working with right here is results policy number 2, academic performance. And generally it states students will demonstrate a high level of individual success using multiple measures of performance. And the specific policy element we're looking at today is students will develop skills necessary for lifelong learning. So that's the value that the school board has put into writing and expects us as a school district to comply with. And so we have to demonstrate that students are developing the skills for lifelong learning. And today, this monitoring report will demonstrate how we're proving that. It's our book report that we're presenting to the school board. And so we're thankful to have Ms. Carrie Huth, our Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, and Dr. Britta Rodering, our Supervisor of Career and Technical Readiness, to help present this information.
Thank you. I'll start. This is our 2.3. We lovingly call it our redefining readiness. So there's 3 indicators. We look at career ready, college ready, and college and career ready, which we also are starting to shift to the language future ready. So just a quick overview, our redefining ready. America's high schools have profound responsibility to ensure that our nation's 14 million high school students are college ready, career ready, and life ready. Standardized test scores, traditionally used as a primary readiness, provide an accurate representation of our students' potential. Redefining Ready is a national initiative to introduce new research-based metrics to more accurately assess whether students are college ready, career ready, and life ready. So with that, on the cover page, you will see that we have indicated for indicator 1, career ready, that we have made reasonable progress. For indicator 2, college ready, we have marked that we have made reasonable progress, as well as for college and career ready or future ready, we have marked we have made reasonable progress. Dan, do you have this?
The link should be live.
Thank you. So I will go through this scorecard and then go into more details. So you can see this is color-coded. We have our college-ready indicators with the blue font. And you can see our 2.8 GPA as we go down below had made growth from last year to this year. So we are looking at a 58% of our high school seniors that had above a 2.8 GPA. We had 16% of our seniors pass an AP test, which is up from last year. Students earning a C or higher in AP courses, we had 43%, holding steady and up a little bit from last year. Students earning a C or higher in advanced standing courses in English or math, so similar to the one above, but specific to English and math, we have 58% this year who have earned that C or higher. Students earning a C or higher in Algebra 2, Extended Algebra 2, or Honors Algebra 1, 59%, which held steady from last year. Percentage of dual credit with a university, we have 90% of our graduating seniors earning a dual credit with university. And our ACT College Ready, this is where the percentage, 20% of our students met all of the benchmarks for that ACT, meeting the English, reading, science, and math benchmark. All of those 7 components fall into the College Ready percentage, and you can see that this year we had 58% of our high school seniors who met that College Ready indicator, which was up from 51 last year.
I would just like to reiterate, this is our college senior, or high school seniors that graduated last year. So it's their snapshot. So we're looking at the high school seniors that graduated last year. This is how they performed on all these metrics.
Thank you. Going into our Career Ready, there are 4 indicators within that. We have our attendance rate for freshman year. You will notice that this year's percentage is down from last year to 60% versus 67 last year. As a reminder, we've looked back at data significantly, and this was the COVID 7th and 8th grade for years for them, and these was their freshman year where they had the 60%. But with that even being lower, we had 90% of our seniors earn a transcription credit, up from 74 the year before. Participation in 2 or more extracurriculars at 53%. And then our college-based experiences and industry-based certifications. You will notice that we went back and pulled the data for the last 5 years, but this one is reported separate for college-based certifications and industry-based certifications, a little different than last year, and Britta can explain that as well. But both of those are up from last year. So those 4 indicators go into our Career Ready, which this year, because the attendance has a significant impact on that, we have 72% compared to the 83. But looking at all 4 of those indicators, we were above last year's in 3 of those 4, and that's why we did mark that we were making reasonable progress. And then the college and career readiness, that is both, or all 11 of those indicators combined, and we have 54% of those graduating seniors compared to 51% the year before. As you go into it's like a little chapter book here, our packet. As you go into that, you can see specific reference groups and how we're showing growth, or we're seeing just the breakup of where the reference groups fall within each one of those percentages. Any questions along the way so far?
Can you
Mr.
talk
Mako?
about the, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So my question had largely to do about the career readiness, and I noticed a large part of the makeup of career readiness, one of the metrics that was used is attendance. And I saw a report, it was by the Wisconsin Institute by Law and Liberty probably a month ago, that said that our state's experiencing a very high trend towards chronic absenteeism since the pandemic. And I was looking through the attendance here and seeing the attendance has been plummeting kind of since the pandemic. And then career readiness is one of our lowest marks we've had in quite a few years. It's still reasonable, I would say, but it's something of concern for the future. Is what are some ways in which we are addressing perhaps chronic absenteeism, and how scope of career readiness?
Chronic absenteeism is something we've been looking at for several years. Mr. Kurt Teff, part of our director for community services, as well as many of us as staff members, actually meet with a county-wide team that is looking at chronic absenteeism across the different districts, ours included. I know that different schools within our district are taking actions to engage our students in, times have changed since COVID, so finding ways to engage them within the schools by activities, clubs, sports, relationships with the staff in the buildings. Even Dr. Ingalls reference to our middle school students who have a higher attendance rate already as they shift into high school. That freshman year is key. But even though those freshmen that year had a lower percentage, they excelled in so many other areas. So it's great to see that there was so much engagement, but also that percentage was lower.
Right, like Carrie just mentioned, the other The other areas I feel are very strong, very proud of. I'm going to specifically point out our percent earning transcripted credit, 90% of our seniors. And to earn that credit, they not only need the opportunity, but they need to achieve what we used to know as an 80%, a 3 or a 4, or 2 plus 3 or 4. But the transcripted credit courses, they are all transcripted with Western Technical College, Chippewa Valley Technical College, Fox Valley, and Gateway. The majority of them are through Western, and so these are all pathway courses, so courses in specific areas of careers, actually not in any core content areas.
I think to the chronic absenteeism question, if we look pre-pandemic in 2019, 2020, by the DPI's definition, we were at 12.9%. In 21-22, that year that we came back from the pandemic, was 22.7, so almost doubled in terms of the rate of chronic absenteeism. And we've been combating some changing norms and expectations as a result. Our society has shifted a little bit in how they think about school attendance. And it's partially because we sent kids home for 2 full weeks if they tested positive for COVID, and provided all of their materials online and educated them virtually to the best of our ability. And it reshaped how parents, families, students, teachers think about education. And so we're busy recovering from that. In 23-24, the last time we have DPI measurements on chronic absenteeism, we were back down to 17.7%. So a 5% drop, and halfway back to where we were in 2019-20. We continue to see incremental improvement over time, but it'll take a while for us to get there.
Absolutely.
You start to see a decline in academic outcomes. You can't benefit from all the great education and teaching we provide if you're not here. And so students start to miss out on crucial academic lessons, but also social emotional ones, and other elements that are important for engagement, belonging, connection, that are crucial for learning.
But to your point, during the COVID years, those early years, if you tested positive for COVID, you were out for 10 days, right? That's 2 weeks. And 10% is 17 days. We have 175 days in the school year. So you are almost guaranteed to be chronically absent if you got sick twice in a school year.
Absolutely.
And even if they did not test positive, but they had some symptoms of a cough or, so, there was, they were usually sent home quite quickly.
Oh, is that 2-week standard, was that in the 24-25 school year of sending students home?
No, but those dates are
In the 24-25 school year of sending students home?
those dates are from their freshman year. Am I right in that?
Freshman from the 24, is it the freshman in 24-25, or is it the senior, measuring the seniors in 24-25 from when they were freshmen?
Oh, yeah.
It's our graduating seniors, but measuring it from when they were freshmen.
So those are the numbers from 4 years ago.
Thank you.
21,
Pandemic
22.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we had
Okay, that makes a lot more sense to know
Yeah.
that there.
Does to
Yes.
me too. I was thinking we should be over the COVID pretty quick here then. Okay?
Yeah. No, all
That
of-
makes sense.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
If
so
they're
for-
they needed to attend 90% of their freshman year.
For them, which would have been the 21-22 school year.
Thank you.
How many AP classes are there? We have one in math, science, social studies, language.
Oh.
8?
I was gonna say 8 or 9.
We'll go 8.5.
There's quite a bit of them there.
It could depend on the year based on enrollment, yeah.
I think in our course handbook, we list 16. They don't always run based on enrollment.
Another question would be, you talk about students involved in 2 or more activities. Do you have any idea how many people actually start activities when they're freshmen in high school? Or most of those people are because they were active in middle school or earlier?
And we do track activities at the middle school too. We can compare those percentages
Yeah,
at a
just-
later time, but off the top of my head, no.
No, and the point was.
Yes, yep.
Let's get the middle school going.
Yep.
Mr. Skiles?
I will say that, at least at Central, there is not a whole lot of opportunities for multiple extracurriculars, especially if you want to do a sport and a club. More often than not, we aren't allowed to meet during like homeroom time, which would be a really great opportunity. But if you wish to be in a sport and a club, you kind of have to sacrifice. I myself was the FBLA president last year, and for the first 2 to 3 months of the school year, I was not able to attend any meetings just because it was directly after school, but I had to go get ready for practice, and I had to make the decision of which do I want to prioritize, and I don't feel like that's fair to our students and to let that skew our statistics.
Something to look at.
Similar
Thank you.
feedback from my high schooler as well. And this is when he moved, he was a freshman last year, he moved over and it was either the sport or the club that he was struggling to figure out how to participate in more than just a sport. He missed some opportunities there to do that, so. And then, while I've got the mic, on going back to the attendance, have we reviewed our health guidelines? I know I've got children who, if they have a fever during the day, that means they're automatically missing the next day by current policy. So whether they're showing symptoms or anything else going on, I know I have a chronically sick 8-year-old who will spike fevers but is fine. But he's missing a fair amount of school because of that policy. So, I mean, there's numbers in there that there's also skewing some of that as well. So it's one of those that before COVID that wouldn't have been a thing, but now it's a thing. So, and it's definitely causing issues as far as learning for our family.
Those are conversations that are ongoing. Our benchmark after COVID moved to like 24 hours fever-free, which almost guarantees 2 days missed,
Yep.
which was not the intent, but, and then sometimes it's the how the thing's implemented, not necessarily the intent behind it. And so those are definitely ongoing conversations to try and keep everyone safe while also providing access to school. I will re-engage.
Emerson?
I will say, for a two-sport athlete point of view, I am in 2 clubs and a youth apprenticeship. So I really think it might be dependent on your school schedule. I know at Logan, I'm able to do all of those things. I do have more homework after school, but I'm able to do all of those things and maintain a all-A school year. So I think it's really just dependent on the school schedule and what your school provides for you.
I think sometimes the conflict comes, is it done during like a homeroom type period or is it after school? And we try and be flexible, but that's something we can obviously readdress and think about how to create as much opportunity as possible.
Glad you brought that up, because that's a similar point I was going to bring too, is that especially our new schedule, it might cause some challenges for some students for attending these extracurriculars, because there are some students that have to work after school to make their own needs. Like I remember back even when I was a student, not that long ago, that I couldn't really do so many extracurriculars because I had to go to work and be able to earn myself at least somewhat of a wage to kind of help provide for myself. And I think that's kind of one thing I also look at with our new placement for our new schedule, is just seeing how, as you said, there's some problems with extracurriculars already popping up just by the sports, which come from scheduling. I think will resolve on its own. But the other question is, how exactly are these students going to adapt to this as well if they don't have the opportunity to kind of stay for too much time after the school before they have to go back to work or do something?
Yeah, those are definitely things we're always thoughtful about, barriers to participation. One of the career-ready measures that's listed in the national data but not on this sheet is volunteering as an option. And that is one we've always struggled with from an equity perspective. For families that have to take care of younger siblings or after school or have to work, to create that as a graduation requirement to track as data, it starts to create, some haves and have-nots in terms of access and availability. And plenty of our students volunteer during the school day in all sorts of other ways. Helping out your family, that's important too. We don't want to create false choices, in some of those sorts of things. As far as like achieving these benchmarks as a school district, if the 2 or more extracurriculars, not every student may be able to do that, but we have lots of school-based opportunities for taking courses and credentials that we can facilitate. Or if working is important, we can hook you up with a YA, youth apprenticeship experience, and that's an opportunity for us to leverage that experience as a successful preparation for career as well. So.
Thank you. I'm just dwelling too, as I'm just thinking back, like I was a 3-sport athlete participating in drama. I was in jazz band and marching band and all the bands. And like, I'm curious about in particular with sports, because my oldest is 8 now, and we're hearing among all the parents like all the woes of like the traveling sports leagues and the intensity of it. And I'm wondering if the school teams, have there been significant changes? And it's 20 years since I've been in high school, but if, you know, sometimes it does depend on what sports you want to be involved in, and there are going to be those necessary conflicts. But do we have a handle on what has actually changed to make it more or less difficult for different combinations of activities?
There's definitely a acceleration in the last 2 decades on what level of participation you need to be in a sport outside of the school season to feel like you can be competitive and earn playing time during the school season. You know, on a varsity basketball team, there's 5 starters, you know, and maybe there's an 8-person rotation. On a soccer team, there's 11 starters and maybe a 14-person rotation, you know, so there's more opportunity. And so in pursuit of that kind of athletic culture that has arisen over the last couple decades, club sports have really risen to the fore, and you can play volleyball year-round at this point. You can play basketball year-round at this point, and some students feel like they need to be involved year-round in order to take advantage of the WIAA school-based sports. And some coaches get caught up in that as well. And recently, the WIAA just eliminated summer contact restrictions, and so a coach can be working with a kid every single day all year. Those restrictions were sometimes illogical, but also prevented the kind of myopic, singular focus on one sport. And our kids are talented. We would want them to participate in as many sports as possible to explore their interests, to avoid repetitive use injuries, to gain multiple experiences. But it's getting harder and harder with the culture around us to provide those opportunities. And so that may be limiting some of that thoughts of 2 or more extracurriculars where you might have historically had lots of multi-sport athletes. We see fewer and fewer of them. And it's hard in summer for kids to choose, like, God forbid you want to get to bed before 10 o'clock at night, or have a job to earn a little bit of money when you've got to go from weightlifting in the morning to your club volleyball practice, to your club basketball practice, to your club soccer practice, and then you've got weightlifting in the evening, and then you're going to go to bed. You know, so it gets really tough for kids right now, students, to choose among some of these things. Coaches are kind of caught in some tough positions sometimes, one side or the other of the line, you know, and families, you know, are already making these choices in kindergarten and 4K, you know, about what path their kid's going to be on athletically, and it certainly impacts this data.
Would the board be interested in a future information item, a little bit more about the participation in the clubs and the sports? That might be, I don't want to detract from this report, but it seems it's something we want to learn a little bit more about. Is that something the board would be interested in?
Can I propose maybe a workshop to really look into both participation as well as competitiveness, as well as accessibility and
Scheduling.
Yeah, all those things. I think that
There's
There's lots of-
answer a lot of our questions that we
yeah,
have.
agreed.
Definitely.
Okay, we can do that. I didn't want to detract from this. Are there other questions on this report? I have a couple, but I want to, yeah. go ahead.
I wanted to dwell on the college-ready section, the breakout of statistics and everything, and just to kind of highlight and have everybody think about it. I just wanted to kind of call out in the disaggregated data, the broken out data, we still do see, and we know we've had this stated in our stated goal of having academic success not be tied to socioeconomic and demographic factors. And the statistics that we're seeing here in terms of the percentages of our students who are both in the college ready or specifically in the 2.8 or higher GPA, there are still some troubling tendencies to see those outcomes associated with demographic factors. In addition, those two graphs, the statistics are almost identical, except I think for students with disabilities in the case of GPA, which is interesting to me because it might indicate that it's the secondary factor that is, trying to get it the right way here, that is the limiting factor of students being considered college ready in this case. That if the GPA is identical to the overall college readiness, how do we use that data to find out, well, where's that problem area for our students? And does that then identify opportunities to close some of those gaps? So, just wanted to speak that into the universe.
Well, I know as I stood up here last year, we celebrated some of the percentages that were present last year. And even though our overall went up this year compared to last year with our 2.8 GPA, there were shifts in the reference groups that I definitely took note of as well. And I know as we continue to focus on instructional frameworks and learning and design team, we're talking, and we will continue over the course of the year to have conversations about what does solid teaching and teaching practices look like for all of our learners.
And I think in fairness to you and your team and all of our staff, when looking at the percentages is one thing, but when we're looking at the raw numbers and one student is a difference of 9 percentage points because it's a small reference group, we also have to understand the size of the groups that we're looking at, so.
It's one of the reasons we have a combined students of color group, which is it flattens things in a way that's not totally representative of the nuance and variation that's in there, but as a way to create a N size or cell size that's large enough to start to look at trends over time reasonably. You know, we discussed kind of the areas where we're disproportionate consistently over time. You know, this last year, the with exceptions policies that keep popping up. And one of those was OE 10.2.4, disproportionate discipline. That's another area where we always see disproportionality. And one of the things we discussed this last year was, you know, disproportionality that arises from community-based opportunity gaps, growing up for families, et cetera, and is largely unaddressed by our society. It shows up in our schools, and it plays out in the achievement gaps, the opportunity gaps that we have here as well. And so, you know, that's why we continue to think about things like community schools, our early childhood impact work, our community impact work in our housing authority neighborhoods, and excited for what that will mean over time.
Other comments or questions? I certainly understand, first of all, the 90% of students getting transcripted credit is remarkable, and like we aren't celebrating that one enough, I don't think, and that's really good work. I mean, even the ACT, the way that one has gone up, the GPA has gone up, the students earning C or higher in AP courses has gone up just a little bit, but and the students earning C or higher in advanced standing, that's a pretty substantial increase, and so those areas really need to be recognized. With that said, our job is to look at reasonable progress, and on the career ready, the overall number has gone from 83% to 72%, largely driven by the attendance of the freshmen, which is certainly understandable with the COVID situation. I'm struggling as a board member saying we've met that. I feel like we did this last year. There's a really good reason why it happened. It's nobody's fault, but we didn't meet our benchmark. And can we say we didn't meet our benchmark and acknowledge it was COVID? There's nothing we could do about it, but I don't see a 10% drop as reasonable progress myself. That's where I'm struggling. I don't feel like you are doing a bad job. In fact, the areas that you've grown so substantially, particularly in the college ready, are noteworthy. But at the end of the day, when we have to look at the numbers and decide, did we meet the benchmark or didn't we? I'm struggling with saying yes on that one. And I there's nothing I can say to you that I want you to do more of, other than next year, it's gonna go up because COVID's gonna be over, right? And so we know it'll be better.
And I would acknowledge your comment, Deb, and I will say that we spent a lot of time talking about where to put that X on that indicator. And because we looked at all 4 of those indicators within career readiness and noticed that the percentage earning transcripted credit had jumped 16 percentage points. Participation in activities went up 3, and down below we went up 10% in one and then 1% in the others. We were just going back and forth as to, like, we made a good amount of progress in those other 3 indicators and even though the percentage of their attendance was down, these students excelled and met these other benchmarks at such a high level. That's why we marked. So that's the rationale behind it.
And I don't know how other board members feel, but that's, I totally understand. I mean, I'm just looking at the top number that you have, 83% to 72%. That's a 10% drop. That, I'm struggling saying that's reasonable progress, but I totally get why it wasn't, and it's not a bad reflection on anybody from the staff, but I feel like I'm not doing my job if I say it's reasonable progress.
Totally prepared for that perspective.
Yep.
So, absolutely.
I also think that it is impressive, though, that went so far down, such a dip, yet everything else went up, so that's very encouraging. You know, and you know, next year, I don't know what's gonna bring. They were eighth graders last year. Who knows? COVID was wicked for us all, right? But I do agree with that, you know, looking at the other things, I have to agree with you that you probably met your benchmark there, considering, yes, that was down, but everything else was up. And it's impressive that, you know, that they went up that high, considering that went so far down, so, thank you.
Yeah.
If I may be so bold, I'm in I'm in AP Statistics this year, and we actually started talking about data like this. I do not feel that it would be fair to judge the growth of a program here. I feel like there has been incredible amounts of growth. I feel like that 90% of college credit, which not only shows that our students are intelligent and are very good at what they do, but also shows that they have the capability for higher learning and actually prepares them for the future better than a lot of the other benchmarks. I feel like the decrease in a statistic from 4 years ago can and should be overlooked based on the other information we have.
Get that man a 5 on that AP test.
So how did this
We will
item
take
get
credit though
select-
next year if it goes up.
Yes,
of course. Clear about that.
So in all fairness, we as a board didn't say this needs to be our criteria. This is what administration brought. So how
Correct.
did this become a part of the criteria that we look at that? I mean,
Totally, and that's a great question. So these all come from the redefining readiness effort nationally, and the reason these came to the fore is they're all predictive of future success. And they looked at sophomore attendance and junior attendance and senior attendance and kindergarten attendance, and what they found was freshman attendance in high school was predictive of future success. And so that's why we track it, and that's why it's important for us to measure. And what that means to us as a school district is we should be trying to increase freshman attendance to the greatest extent possible. That's the implication for us as a school district. And so we do a great job, I believe, of creating belonging and engagement with our freshmen. We have different strategies for bringing folks in, especially to create that connection of doing homerooms and other things to make freshman year really positive and create that attendance and engagement. The implication if this is down and keeps going down is that we're not doing our job, that we did not create an environment where students are attending regularly, and there would be legitimate criticism of the school district if that continued to be a decline, because we hadn't done what we were supposed to do to correct the course. In this case, we're chalking it up to a super weird anomaly where there was a global pandemic, and that's why that is there. And we have other indicators that indicate we're on the right track again. You know, this is 4-year lagging data, right? It's super hard to, you know, action right now to fix that. But we have other data that indicates that we're on the right track. And so I think this is a good measure. We should take it seriously, even though you're right. There's lots of things wrong with it also. And it is a valuable measure for us to consider as we think about how to operate our school district.
so help me understand, under the career ready, the percentage, overall percentage went from 83% to 72%. 4 of the areas really went up, 1 went down. So how did this, why wouldn't this look closer to even then? So how did you come up with these numbers? Because that's what I'm basing my comments on.
So this is another Groundhog's Day question. Because you have to meet, is it 2 of them for this?
2 of them.
Yeah, you have to
2 or
meet
more.
2 of the indicators. And the indicator that most of our students meet historically has been this freshman attendance rate. And then some will earn the transcripted credit, you know, well, shoot, most of them do, 90%. But participation in 2 or more extracurriculars, and then this career-based experiences. And so once you start to factor in 2 or more, it brings down the overall percentage down to that 58%. It could never be more than any one of those necessarily, or any two of those, but it starts to fall, over time. So you could be attendance freshman year and earning transcripted credit, or you could be 2 or more extracurriculars and an industry-based certificate. And so we add all those up in this complicated spreadsheet.
Yep.
This is one of those reports that actually takes a lot of work, and come out with that 58% or 72% career ready.
Clear as mud.
So I'll just say.
There's a spreadsheet that has it all organized and.
Christy has offered to sit down with anyone who wants to really dive into the weeds on the data gathering of this one.
I'll just say, as a board, we wanted reasonable progress in this area. I didn't create which ones we select or the odd formula used to figure it out.
Totally.
And so, my job is to look, if you measured, I'm sure I'll be outvoted, and I'm okay with that, because I'm used to it. But I'm still looking at the numbers, and I see a 10% decline, and I can't say you met the criteria in that area, and that's just where I'm struggling. Yeah.
I'm gonna try to finish this off so we don't go too much can of worms here. We spent a lot of time on this one here. I can kind of see a lot of Deb's point too, and I'm trying, again, I say grace because this is a statewide issue, and learning that this is part of the freshman year, I fully understand why it is so low too. The question I kind of had is, it's the administration that brings this data towards us, sets the data, but shouldn't it be the board who says this is what we want to see to be able to measure based on progress of what we're elected to look at too? I understand the science comes to looking at the freshmen for looking at a future track right here, but seniors have a choice when they're seniors what they're going to be doing in the future, and they should be focusing their attendance then. They should be able to apply themselves as a senior going into college. Since we're sending them off to college, we're sending out to the next workforce. There's a huge problem in the workforce with Gen Z workers not showing years it is to freshmen, even though the fact that we're kind of measuring freshmen because it's a future basis. I think we should be attending seniors because they make those decisions proactively throughout the entire school year, and they're going to be making those choices afterwards. So how are seniors attending, even despite the senioritis? And then how's that going to flow into their college, into their work, into their career, into kind of more so our overall marketing trend? So I guess my point of that right there is kind of just challenge the board here. Should we be looking at attendance for freshmen, or should we be looking at it for seniors?
I had two things that might respond to that. One is that I think it's part of our governance policy that administration sets the indicators. We set the policies and they set the indicators. So that's why. And this is a good indicator. Like historically, the freshman year is very hard. It is historically the year most kids drop out, if they're able to drop out, or fall so far behind that even when they're legally required to stay in school till they're 18, they never catch up enough to graduate. And it mirrors the kind of difficulty you have when you move away to college your freshman year. And I work with those students who for the first time have to do their laundry and their meal prep and get themselves to class, like everything. It's the same kind of overwhelm of having to handle a lot of cognitive load. So that's why it's a predictive indicator. Kids who manage a solid way through that freshman year, who manage that 2.8 GPA, it shows that they can work with lots of different teachers and lots of different policies. They can handle lots of different cognitive load, right? A high cognitive load. And those are more predictive of success in college than test scores, standardized test scores, or other kinds of measures that we often look to tell if we're progressing. All that is to say, this seems like reasonable progress to me. I think the big jumps in the other things, remind me of your name.
Owen, Skyles.
Owen. To your point, we do have a number to look at, but we also have information about that number and where it comes from. And it's important, I think, to acknowledge that we know where that number comes from and what it means. And I have in the past voted with exceptions on things like this when it was more flatly like test scores are down. Test scores have been depressed since COVID absences because of absenteeism. And in those cases I've said, well, it's the test, it's the score, it's the number, but this feels different to me than that.
I would just piggyback on that, Dr. Garcia, and yeah, I agree that what's valuable about this whole report is it's a relatively sensitive tool of multiple measures, right? And multiple different kinds of measures, and then taking them in combination. So when we're looking at the three indicators and we're trying to decide, well, does one of three, right, not not meet expectations and what's reasonable. Even within that, we look at, yes, this one indicator has been a problem for us, but again, putting it in combination, or the various possible combinations by which a student can, be shown to be college, career, and thus future ready. So I appreciate the sensitivity of this and also the research that it's based on and being predictive of success. That being said, if we want to look at change over time on a particular cohort to see, like, did those attendance rates change in a 4-year period, right? If we're interested in seeing how does our district do in encouraging students from that freshman year to their senior year to improve upon their attendance, I'd absolutely support adding to this and making Carrie do even more work than she already does. So.
We should have got you chairs.
There is no vote on this evening. This will be voted on in July, it looks like. So this is a report. Any other comments or questions? Because it's an R, it's not an operating policy. Okay, I think we've belabored the point. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you, Britta.
We are going to move on then to referendum construction plan update. It's going to be an item we're going to have on the agenda for information regularly going forward, and I turn it over to Dr. Engel.
Yeah, I'd like to invite up Mr. Joe Ledvina to present for this. We have something a little bit more formal tonight, just to walk through kind of our summer updates, all the projects that we did. We had talked last year in the spring about having kind of a post-summer update to kind of let folks know where we're at. But then we'll have, it'll be slightly more informal as we go throughout the school year, just where we're at with referendum planning, and happy to take any questions then on all of this sort of stuff. And so with that, I will turn it over to Dan to solve the tech issue, and then we'll get on to referendum and CMI board update.
If you get stuck, if you need my help, just give me a yell.
You're a team player there, Scott.
Okay, you got
Job,
it.
Scott.
Good.
Well, good evening, and it's an exciting time in the school district of La Crosse. I mean, we've been planning for almost 10 months now, a little over that, and we're about to see the fruits of our labors, and so exciting. So I'm going to share with you the 2 capital improvement projects, or the 2 referendum projects, and then some of the capital improvement projects that we were able to accomplish this summer, and then some things that we're doing before the end of the school year. So when we look at State Road addition and remodel, just to remind you that we've done 10 months of teachers, staff, administration through this whole process, and so you'll be seeing some of this work come forward. On August 19th, we did a pre-bid walkthrough for all contractors, and so what we did is we put all of our information out on the La Crosse Builders Exchange, and so local contractors could come, walk through the building, look at the project. We sent the bids out on August 22nd, and so we'll be doing a bid opening on September 16th and bringing it to the board on September 22nd. And so that gives us some time to really look between the 16th and 22nd to see where we are budget-wise, bring that forward to you. And our hope is that we'll start construction late October and then finish completion of the project September 1 of 2026. And so some exciting things happening. There'll be some challenges with that, of course, as we'll be doing construction with the school going on, but we feel like we can handle that pretty well. So right now, we're kind of in the question phase with the contractors before we get the bids in. In fact, today I took a phone call from a contractor asking a question about the bid process and some specifics in our bid documents. And so that's ongoing, but we should have something to you on September 22nd.
We've had a fair amount of initial interest. We'll see who ends up submitting bids, but a lot of folks have expressed interest, so we're excited.
Yeah, during the pre-bid walkthrough, we had over 20 contractors and subcontractors walk through. The information we're getting, they're hungry, and so we're hoping that our bids will come in really well, but we'll know more as we get closer to that. Now, the new elementary school design.
Back to the State Road one. You've got a completion of September 1st, 2026?
Yes.
Is that when the schools will merge?
No, we have planned right now that the schools won't merge until August of 2027.
Okay,
But
that's
we'll
what
be
I-
done one year in advance, so one major project will be complete. I know that State Road's looking forward to using some of that new real estate during that time frame, but we're not bringing anybody in until August of 2027.
Thank you.
Good question. And then the new elementary school, we're still in the design phase, but we're nearing the end of that completion. We're going to do a design review with the city of La Crosse on September 19th, and that's really just sharing with the plans that we have right now, and they'll give us feedback from every single department there. We plan on doing the Hogan bid demo out on September 30th, and so we'll get that bid out, so we're starting to think about that building removing. I know, Ms. Sukla, you talked this evening about the Hogan building. This summer, I had an opportunity to give tours at Emerson because we had two from both high schools, class reunions that were in town, thinking that we're going to close Emerson this year. And so to walk through that, and I think that that's a good idea that we do that with all of our buildings that are closing, given an opportunity for the community to walk through, reminisce. We had a group of teachers that taught at that school. They all came that day. We probably had 40 to 50 people walk through, and so it's something that we might want to consider as well. And so we're going to put the bids out on November 4th. We'll do a pre-bid walkthrough November 11th. Now, I say a pre-bid walkthrough, there's really nothing to walk through, but we'll sit down with the plans. They'll give them a week for them to have questions. Excuse me. They'll have questions that they can ask the architects, they can ask us as it relates to that. We'll have a bid opening on December 9th, and then we'll bring that to the board on December 15th. Yes, sir.
That is all this year, correct?
That's all this year, yes.
Hopefully they're still hungry.
They're still hungry, and
Yeah.
we're hearing again that they are, so we're, a lot of interest in that. And then
Dr. Sprague?
we'd start construction in February or March, depending on the weather. So if the weather has the way it's been the last few winters, we'll get started in February, and then completion of August of 2027. Questions with that process? Yes, sir.
I'm curious about the demo bid on Hogan. To what extent is like reclamation part of the bid? Are we encouraging folks? Are we looking at like Habitat for Humanity? They have a reclamation team.
Yeah, so we've already been in contact with Habitat for Humanity, and they've walked through the building twice, and so we've worked that with, before we do a bid demo, they're gonna come through. They have a long list of things that they'll be taking, that are structural items, that are architectural items that they'll be taking and be able to use in similar age buildings in the city, so we're excited about that. And so we'll be reusing a lot of what's in there.
Great.
Yeah, great question.
When is the demo going to take place then, of Hogan?
Yeah, that will all depend. We'll see where we're at. We're gonna have some asbestos that we're gonna have to remove before then, but my hope is that we'll have the demo in December, late November, December, so that we can break ground right away as soon as the weather's nice after the first of the year.
Have it done
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, so that's kind of the plan, where we're at with that. Great question. Anything else as it relates to the new elementary school? Exciting times. We're still in the design phase. In fact, just last week, we had staff members give input to the LMC, the library, so we made some changes there. So we'll be bringing that forward too as we look at that final piece. Some projects that we did this summer, and some of them we're still doing. The Tech Ed building, you've noticed that's out there, it's in use. We're putting the final touches on that. In fact, we're using, our Tech Ed students are doing some of the work in that building right now. We moved the generator over from Hogan Administration, so that generator works as it's a backup for our IT department. And so IT closet is here now at Hogan, so we've made that transition. If you remember from the capital improvement project, we have a track project that we're doing here at Central, and we're gonna start that yet this fall. And the reason we're doing that, it kind of goes along with the greenhouse. If you look at that, we're in the process of getting the final approval from the city on the greenhouse. And so with all the different buildings that we're doing and different things that are going on at Central, we're moving some things around. I know it's hard to see in this plan down at the lower right-hand corner, but we're moving the pole vault pit to be inside the track. We're moving the long jump, so it's a little bit different, and it's not as close to the greenhouse as it is now. And so we're doing a lot of changes, so we're working on those, getting approval from the city, but we anticipate starting that this week. And so we're looking at that project. And then, of course, district offices. You can see a part of what you see here, but we've moved about a third of the staff from Hogan over to here. And so we have 2/3 yet to go, and we hope to complete that process in mid-October. So it's kind of our timeline for that.
So we're not shot putting towards the greenhouse.
We're not
Right,
shot putting toward the greenhouse. We're
In case
moving
we
some
have any
things around.
state
Yes.
champions in-
Yes, yes.
Pole vaulting, but not
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
Throwing the disc, though.
There.
One of the things that we did start the board meetings a little bit earlier than we thought, than we anticipated, but we have wayfinding signs that we'll be putting up in the building, so it'll be a little bit easier for the general public to find your board meetings in the future. At Logan High School, if you've been to the Logan High School football game, I don't know if you've been to one of those games yet. They've had 2 home games. This is a picture from last Friday. You can see it's in full use. We're excited about that process. In a couple weeks, I think Central plays Logan. I encourage you all to come out and watch that game. It's at Logan, so cheer on your favorite team. One of the things that I'm proud is we did a remodel of the sped space at Logan. These pictures will not do it justice, but it's working with our sped students and teaching them life skills, everything from washing dishes to laundry to all the skills that they need. And you'll see in the lower right-hand corner the bathroom that was added into that space to just make it a little bit easier for those students. And so proud of that space. And then the freezer, a new freezer that we put in at Logan, and that will work as a district freezer. Yes,
2 things is the bleachers are absolutely beautiful. I mean,
Thank you.
they're very nice, and thank you for that. But I think people underestimate that freezer. That thing is mammoth, and
It is
it's
huge.
much needed. And that is quite the sight when you ride up to that thing.
yes it is, yes it is.
It's quite amazing.
And that will serve food for the whole district, actually. So it's a nice, yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Our SPED students, it's grown quite a lot this
Yeah.
year. I helped a lot with them my freshman and sophomore year, and I remember that old bathroom.
Yeah.
I know Coach Bingham, she's the assistant basketball coach, but she's one of the teachers there. She helps with them. It was really a struggle for her and the other faculty to, help some of those children, but I've heard great things about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. One of the things that's unique about that space is that when we were doing the tours for the new elementary school, we saw this sped space, and actually Bray designed it. And we just took that exact design and we put it into our space. And so you'll see the same thing happen at Central this next summer. So it's something that really needed to be done, and really proud of that. So thank you for those words. Logan Middle, we have a roof project going on. Unfortunately, it's not finished yet. With all of the rain this summer, it really put our roofers behind. And so we're still in the process of doing that, but we'll finish that project up this fall yet. And then we took a couple of unused locker rooms and created classrooms for them, and that's what you see pictures in the left-hand corner. ISP now is at Logan Middle, and they have a home forever, we hope. And then what we did with the PE teachers, they wanted a health class that they could have that's close to their locker room, and so we did some conversions there for them as well. And then at Southern Bluffs, we have another solar project going on, and we're just about finished with that project. On October 24th, you can mark your calendars, we're gonna have a kind of a grand opening of the solar. It's not quite finished yet, but it will be by then, so Souls will lead that celebration that evening. And so, actually, it's during the school day, so we encourage you to come to that. And then at Northwoods Playground, we've removed rubber chips there, and then we also put in a swing set, expanded their playground there. Something that all the elementaries eventually will have, is that's one of their desires as we move forward.
You've got a question.
Yeah,
What was the base of that playground? Are those wood chips?
those are wood chips.
Yep.
Yeah, and so in the lower right-hand corner, that was all rubber chips. We removed those this year, and we put wood chips in there, and then we put in a new swing set with the wood chips in them. And so we're in the process of doing one per year, and so in the next couple of years, we'll have all of our rubber chips removed from the site.
Can I just ask a question? Years ago, we replaced all the wood chips for rubber chips because it was so much better. And now
Yeah,
now
well,
we're reverting back to.
yeah, so let me talk about that a little bit. And so, we, the safest fall zone, if you look at fall zone, and so we made that transition to rubber. We since have had some individuals or some groups come to us and say, we really don't think that's safe for kids, you know. And I will say the data out there, we've looked at the data, we don't necessarily agree with that, but they are messy. And so with their concerns and then our concerns with the mess that they provide, we've made that change back. And that's why we've done that.
So rubber chips are messier than wood chips?
Much more so, much more so.
Because they break up and disintegrate, or?
No, what happens is they just kind of stick to you. They're kind of messy on their hands, but kids have them in their pockets. You find them all over school, all over the playground. And so they're kind of everywhere.
Shoes.
And so we've seen on two fronts, people who don't think they're safe, and then we've seen from people who think they're messy, and they are messy. And so we've made that transition back. We would have had to replace them anyways, because we have to replenish them every few years. So we're doing it as they need to be replaced, and we've made some good headway there. But great questions.
I thought the city had something out as far as their playgrounds, and not playgrounds, their parks. And they were concerned with what was being released by those rubber chips.
Yeah, there was a group that was working with the city, and so the same group that talked to the city talked to us and came to us with their concerns. And then when we looked at the concerns of theirs and the concerns of others with the mess, we just said it makes sense to make that transition. And so we worked with them, and the city's done the exact same thing.
If you look very closely at rubber chips, you will find that there is some off-gassing of chemicals. If you test them for a human health hazard, the impact on a human, you'll find that there's no risk for humans' health. And so it's a combination of two things. Yes, there is chemicals there that comes off, and no, they are not dangerous for humans, but given all the other concerns and trying to move with our community, felt like since we're replacing stuff anyway, let's move towards natural chips and we'll be fine.
What's the cost differential again? I know we had that information.
I
Roughly.
could get that for you. Both are expensive, I will tell you, both are expensive. And so when we replace those, we have to get rid of them, we have waste that we have to do that. But to do this, I would say was somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000 roughly.
For one playground.
Replacing those and then adding the wood chips. And what we've done is we've put that in the capital improvement budget every year to do one playground a year.
Hey, Joe, on
Yes.
Logan High, bleachers do look amazing. I have not watched a football game, but I've watched multiple soccer games, and
Yes.
it does feel less sketchy when I walk through them.
Safer.
Yeah, there we go. Probably the right way to say it, but
They look, our perspective, it was a safety issue.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yep.
where I was at
Yep,
too.
yep.
So, the question I had on that was, I noticed the signage for Deke Swanson's Field is off. Is it still gonna be called Deke Swanson's Field, or is it something?
It's still Deke Swanson's Field,
Yeah.
and what you'll see if you look, there's a big, off to the right of the field, there's a big, a marker, if you will, historical marker that identifies that and the history of that. So there is still something on site that does that.
Okay, but there's not gonna be any signage on the press box or anything?
We're working on that.
Okay.
So I know that Logan High School wants to put Home of the Rangers on the back of that, and so there's been some discussion, but nothing's been finalized.
Okay.
But it still is Deke Swanson Field. In fact, I was just looking at the historical documents, and we've
I'm
committed
sure
to
it was
that.
marked somewhere,
Yep,
like
yeah,
whether it
it
was
is.
scoreboard or somewhere, I just
Yes.
wasn't sure. I
Yeah.
knew that was probably gonna be a
Yep.
question from somebody
Yeah.
at some point.
Great question.
I'm surprised it came from Scott.
Anything else?
Any other comments or questions from Mr. Levine?
Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you in a few weeks to see what those bids look like.
Okay, we will then move on. Our next information item is the proposed budget plan.
So as for some context for folks that are showing up to this proposed budget plan for the first time, to put together this budget plan is a 8-month, 9-month process. It starts in February. Ms. Sprang will probably show the timeline that's in here. It's a series of things we present to the school board and ultimately is compiled into this budget plan. It's been a process we've used for decades at this point and has been an incredible resource. I always make sure to have mine with me just in case. Hopefully you bring yours with you everywhere like I do as well. Whether you're looking for enrollment data or levy data or facilities information or student to staff ratios, there's just such great information in here, and I'm super thankful for Ms. Sprang for putting this together each year. And with that, I'll turn it over to her.
Okay, so this is the first of the 4 times that you're going to see this budget plan come to you. It provides a lot more information than just the budget plan for the next year, and it serves as a resource, as Dr. Engel said.
Patty, would you pull your
Throughout
mic
the
down
year.
a little bit? Sorry.
Oh.
You're kind of hidden by your computer, so I can't see you talking as well.
Oh, okay.
Just, yeah, thank you.
Could you be
Good.
taller? That's what we're asking.
Grow taller. I'm used to sitting down and
Yeah.
presenting, right? So then anyways, this is an estimate at this point because we do not know the third Friday pupil count, the equalized property value, the voucher school amounts. A good portion of this booklet has already been brought to your attention, and that's why we do that over the last few months, because it's a lot of information to absorb. So yes, there is a timeline in here, and I was going to skip past it, but since Dr. Engel brought it up, we will look at it. It is on page 7, so Dan is helping me out here getting to the pages. And so this is the timeline that you have, I think it was brought to you back in March, so it's been a long process. I'm going to skip past the other information. It is the instructional priorities, the strategic plan. Those are all of the things that our numbers support. And you have been presented with that information previously. So we're going to skip to page 32. And that is the state funding for K-12 education. This was the first year of the state budget, for the biennial budget, and they did not, so these dollar amounts are in millions of dollars. And as you go through the state budget, the general school aids, you'll notice they did not increase those in either year of the next 2 years. They did include an increase in the categorical aids in the special ed area. You've heard that before. And then the school levy and the first dollar credits, there is no change. And the state resident schools, there was a slight change. Now, you might think it odd that the school levy credits and the first dollar credits are in this budget for education, but they are dollars allocated to education. However, the schools never see those dollars because they are considered taxpayer relief. And as we go down, then the vouchers increased on all 3 levels, and that is the state support for private schools. I highlighted the first year, the biennial, and then next year, it'll be a little bit easier to approach the budget because we have that known state information. So the next page is the revenue limit and equalized aid change. This information here is from last October. Because we do not know those numbers, that's going to change these charts. And remember that that revenue limit is what is our pie of funding, and that it acts for local taxpayers. It does not mean that we have more money to spend. So also I want to take note to the definitions of student membership and student enrollment, because they're 2 different things. The membership is anyone in the residence of La Crosse that we are responsible for educating, and student enrollment are the kids in our seats, kids that come from other districts and are in our seats. We use that, of course, for staffing and facility needs. Any questions there? The next one is the state of Wisconsin per pupil revenue limit increase. So this shows the history, and for the last 3 years, it has been consistent at $325 per member. The next is the referenda history. This is always something that you will want to refer to, and what has brought along the capital referendum that Joe was talking about, and the operating referendum that we have in place. And that also gives you the timeline for when those dollars, as far as operating referendum, expire. The next page is the referenda history. This is, we just paid off some debt from the 2008 referendum, so that's great because now we've incurred more debt for the referendum of the elementary school consolidation. We will pay off North Side in 2033. And this borrowing, this first borrowing, will expire in 2045. That's hard to say. It's a long ways off. The enrollment history by level on the next page. This is what I talked about, the students in the seats. This determines our facility and staffing needs. As you can see that we have declining enrollment for many, many years, which has led to the consolidation of elementary schools because of the lack of need for so many buildings. And that'll be updated as we know third Friday comes, okay? So I'm going to have you, the next pages 38 to 44, they're all about enrollment, but these are last October's numbers, and they will all be updated after the third Friday and in time for you all for your October decisions. So if you want to go to page 4, these are also estimates about staffing and enrollment. So these are estimates to date as far as our ratios, and they will be updated as of third Friday. Our staffing that we report to the state is also based on third Friday, as our student count is. And the next page is the graph. It goes, we update it as of June 30th of the prior year and show you what we have in place as of today, I would say. But it's changing, and hopefully we will be able to hire those TAs that we're still waiting to hire, and then we will also have the detail updated for you in October. So if you want to go to page 51, this is the start of the introduction of the financial detail. So in this budget book, the funds 10 through 29 are considered our operating funds, but we also describe then here the other funds that are consistent for every school district in the state of Wisconsin. And it helps with the comparison from district to district. We all are held to those same funding sources. So if you want to go to page 53, so the proposed budget, I will tell you now, the expenditures do exceed the revenues by $1,038,941 at this time. We are using designated fund balance that the board designated, that were funds that we received in a prior year, and we will be expending them in this next year. I think 3 of them are grants, and then there's also the Apple buyback dollars that we'll be putting towards some technology projects in this coming year. The levy is estimated, or the levy rate, at $7.51. This is about 26 cents more than it was last year, meaning $26 more on a home that's estimated value of $100,000. This will change once we have the property value information on October 1st, but we think we're pretty close. The levy estimate, of course, is preliminary. So this then goes about all of the estimated revenues and the different pockets. I was that on page 54. It talks about the special ed aid increase that is in the state budget, and that it is not really guaranteed because it's just a certain amount of money, and depending on what the special ed needs are statewide, it could mean that we don't get up to the 42 or 45% reimbursement. So for example, the 23-25 state budget estimated the special ed reimbursement to be 33%, but in actual, we have not exceeded 30.6%.
The latest estimate I heard from Ann Chapman from WASBA was 37% it might come in based on some certain amount that was allocated, so.
Good, good. Anything is appreciated. So then also, I wanted to point out, let's see, under state grants, tuition, and open enrollment, there was an Act 12, personal property aid, that last year we received over $700,000, but it was outside of the revenue limit, meaning those were actually extra funds that helped in our operating budget. This year, in the state budget, it moves those personal property aid back into the revenue limit, so it's offsetting the cost of the revenue limit, and therefore providing additional taxpayer relief. So those aren't extra funds this year. So then the chart is always helpful, showing that our revenues, the majority of our revenues come from local taxes and state equalization aid. And those balance each other. If there's more state aid, less local taxes.
Patty?
Yes.
I'm thinking last year around this time I made the comment, I was asking about the state's commitment to funding districts at 50%, and it looks pleasingly as though in our case we've gone up to, I think I calculated it at 52.3 or something, 52.1% it looks like now, which is great. Right, so.
And remember that funding is also funding our vouchers, so
Yeah.
It's not just all for public schools. So then the operating revenues by chart, you're familiar with this chart because this is what you see on a monthly basis when we compare. This one compares our budget for last year, our unaudited as far as the audit was performed, but they have not come yet to the board to finalize that, and then comparison to our proposed budget. So you're going to see, like on other state categorical aid per pupil, the state budget did not change from $742, so that's times a 3-year average of the membership. And of course, if we have declining membership, then that number will be declining from year to year, so it's a slight decrease. And then our state local tuition received, that's quite a decrease because that was both of our charter schools, Poly and CRVA, had grants in the last 2 years. Those have expired. Any questions about the revenues? Okay. So then we always present our expenditures in 2 formats. One is by program, and the other is by type. The budget for expenditures, I wanted to point out, it does not include our contribution to the OPEB expense. We contribute in past years over $2 million, but we had decided that if we needed that to balance our budget while we're getting ready for consolidation and the savings there, this is one of the years that we're going to have to use it. Fortunately, we have enough in the fund balance in our OPEB to carry us through for the next 2 years. So we'll be able to meet those promises to our retirees. Then this chart also shows about the operating expenditures by program. And you'll notice that instruction and instructional support are our two largest areas, which we would expect since we are an instructional institution. Questions about operating expenditures by program?
Maybe I would be interested in, I don't know if you can come up with comparison schools, districts, but how comparison districts spend their money versus the way we spend our money.
Well, they're all
I mean, is it-
instructional, they're all schools, so education, of course, is going to be the majority of their budgets.
No, but at the same time, even you get into staffing in a little bit, and how is the staffing at whatever school or district compared to the La Crosse School District? I mean, are we where we should be? Are we high? Are we low? Or where?
Staffing is an area where it's very easy to compare. There's a public staffing report that we're able to access, and we've used that on a consistent basis to look at student-to-staff ratios to see if we're spending our money on the right things, so to speak. And what we have historically found is that we have some of the best student-to-staff ratios, student-to-teacher ratios in the state. And so it means that with our limited funds, we feel like we're really investing it in the right thing, the folks that work with kids on a daily basis in classrooms. When we look at our administrative funding, because sometimes people worry that there's administrative bloat or other things, we're not in the 15th percentile like teachers, we're in the 75th percentile. So we know that relatively we're putting our money where it matters most, in front of kids every single day. We have a similar amount of administrative staffing to other school districts our size, we find, which it makes us feel confident that we're responding to our teachers' needs, addressing the community needs with our administrative services as well.
Yeah, and then the other side of it is also looking out for the taxpayer. I mean,
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Patty and I have talked about how do we compare our budget to other schools' budget, but even though there's a standard accounting process and how to label everything, people do things vastly different in different places. They've tried to come up with things like it's like total educational cost or some of these other things based on these categories. And if you have a referendum on your books, it looks dramatically different. If you've got a capital referendum on your books, it looks dramatically different. If you contract out for food service as a purchase service versus doing it internally through Fund 50, it looks different. If you contract through CISAs for purchase services for OT, PT, special eds, deaf and hard of hearing, it looks vastly different than if you do it internally. And so we've had trouble trying to compare the nuts and bolts between school districts, unfortunately. But I think, to your point, the staffing is a great one to really get a sense of where we're at. Are we putting our money where it matters most?
Does that go with pay as well?
Compensation's pretty easy to compare. With that staffing report, we get salaries as well. And then as school districts, we're generally not in competition with each other, and so we're willing to share salary information so folks know. It's publicly available anyway. All we'd have to do is do an open records request if we really wanted it. And so we all share that information freely with each other. And that's how, with our human resources report, OE4, we know where we stand in the top 1 or 2 for all starting and ending wages for all of our employees in this western Wisconsin region. And we know that we compare favorably, in terms of averages across the state.
It would be nice to have a meeting on that staffing and where we are to others, and just so we can toot our own horn or look at areas where we can have opportunity to grow in.
Excellent.
Okay, and so yep.
And then we won't see any significant differences in staffing until the new schools are open and the schools are offline, right?
That's correct.
As we're on staffing, have we seen a change in any of our ratios as far as student to teacher ratios at the middle, high school, or elementary this year?
Those have been pretty consistent. We have targets of about 25 to 1 in core classes. With slight declining enrollment at the high schools in particular this year and trying to offer the same number of courses, the student to staff ratio should be going down just a little bit in those. I know overall we went down a little bit this year, and it's probably reflected more at the high schools this year than the elementary. We are always looking for opportunities to reduce alongside that reduction of students in our schools. But if you lose, 1 or 2 kids per class, it's hard to cut a teaching position necessarily. And so your AP English class goes from, 26 last year to 24 this year. You lost $24,000 in revenue, but you couldn't really cut a position because you still need to offer that course for students. And so, on the margins, yes, I think we were able to eliminate 2 high school teaching positions this year and redistribute some overloads and other things in order to cover all the classes. But it's really hard to find those efficiencies.
Okay. Just one more data point if we do have a deeper conversation about this.
Excellent. I will add it to the list.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that the student projection, and again, we don't have final numbers, is down 2.14%, small percentage. Staff increase is up 1.67%. They're different directions, small percentages. If we were to adjust the staffing level at the same percentage as the projected student level, we'd see a decrease in staff of almost 22 positions. But this budget's adding 17 positions. And so it's actually a difference of almost 40 positions. And so, while those percentages are different, 40 bodies start to add up. Again, I don't want to have the whole conversation about when you lose 2 students here and 3 students there, and you can't do it per year. But I think we do need to pay attention to those numbers, and I think learning more about how other people staff, other district staff, I think is important. I did have a question, though, on the custodians. That went up, but we don't have more buildings.
It's at a point of time. So I think when we took those numbers, we probably had some empty positions. So that's where I'm thinking that was.
Because last year budgeted for 58. It was down 4 from the previous year, and now this year we're looking at 61. So we're up 3 custodians.
Yeah, we didn't really add any positions. I know it might look like positions, but depending on what time of year, it could have been, a time where we just had some retirements, because unlike our school staffing, our support staff can retire any time of the year. So at that point, we may have been down when we took the count.
Those aren't budgeted positions, those are actual employed positions at that time.
Just like our student count, we take the staffing count at the same, is it the same time or is it the?
Okay.
So
Yep.
there are vacancies
Right.
maybe that aren't.
But what do we,
accounted for.
We've also been short on teacher assistants in other areas for a number of years.
yes, I'm aware of that. So where do we find the number of staff budgeted for? I think I'm looking at page 45. Am I looking at the incorrect page?
You're looking at page 45. Yep, no, that's it. As of probably the first day of school, that's where those
Is
numbers
this what
were.
we have, or this is what we're budgeting for? Because those are different things. There's vacancies.
This is what we have. Those are our staff that are in
So
place.
where's the number what we're budgeting for?
It's in the budget, depending if we're going to fill those spots.
We
So-
don't list those in this budget book.
Mhm.
So how do I know what I'm approving in a budget for positions? I'm confused. Am I missing, nobody else looks confused. Maybe I'm missing something.
Well, the staffing on the staffing report are the staff that we have in place, and we compare it to the ratio of the students we have in place.
Okay, I get that, yeah.
We have that in place. But then our staffing, our budget, you will find in the budget as far as when you look at salaries and compensation, that is budgeted for all the positions that we intend to have. So that dollar amount is based on if we're going to hire 10 more TAs, that budget will support the hiring of 10 more TAs. And what you'll remember is we have come to the point where we have over budgeted because we could not fill those positions. So
So-
we are budgeting for the staff that we want to have in place.
Where do I find information on what staff go into making up the salary expense in the budget?
We have that split up by, every employee group has their own.
Is that in the budget book already?
Not that detail. Mhm. We don't, that's in our general ledger. Mhm.
Because you'd like a snapshot of what would full
Budgeted for.
employment look like in
What-
terms
what
of
am-
positions?
What am I approving in the budget? That's what I want to know. And what was it last year, and what is it this year? That's what I would like to know, and that's what,
Sure, if
I
we
need
go
to make
to
my decision
expenditures
based on.
by type, we don't go into that detail in this budget, but you can look at salaries, and that encompasses all of our employees that we hope to employ this year that we need. Are we going to find all those employees? Maybe not, but we will budget for them.
We
I-
can provide that sort of a report if you're interested.
Well, it would just be kind of nice to know if, like, we have 30 janitors, 20, kitchen staff, and, a breakdown of that, so
Yep.
we have an idea. And of them 20, we only have 18 filled.
Mhm.
It would be, again, devil's in the detail. We don't want to dig too deep, but to her point, I think in order for us to approve some, we've got to see, apples to apples. And right now, we're looking at numbers, which the numbers don't really equate to anything. It would be nice to have it, to, this is where it's going to staffing and things like that.
Yeah, Ms. Sprang and I
What kind
will-
of staff?
We
Ms.
can
Sprang
bring
and I
that
can
to
work
you.
on that, yep.
As far as what employee group costs how much dollars in the budget.
Not
That's-
that the past is a justification for the future, but this is how it's been reported for 25 years in the school district, and happy to add more layers and depth to help folks out.
I always understood that page 45 was a number of positions we're budgeting for.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's what I took it as.
That's the number of positions that we have in place on account date. So it's either the third Friday, just as with our students, and that's our staffing at that point in time. Doesn't mean that we will not hire more, because we do have some positions that are not filled, but we have budgeted in order to fill those.
And we are looking at the percentages of our employment groups in comparison with the total salary.
Sure.
And then broken out by category.
Mhm.
And that's why they're highlighted as estimates, right? Because we won't know until the count day
Mhm.
what the actual numbers are.
That's true.
But the numbers that you put in for salaries, you know how many of teacher assistants and how many custodians.
We
and how many
cost?
TAs. You
Correct.
know what those are.
Yes.
Yes, we start that costing way back in January.
So it'd be helpful for me, I think, when we have to preliminary approve this next time, to know how many positions of each type that you have on that third count, Friday count. I think that's a good breakup. And comparing it to last year, or maybe even the year before, I think that helps us tell the story to the public. If it went up because students have a lot more needs and need a lot more coaches, then we know how to tell that story. But based on these numbers, I'm struggling with how to tell the public we're budgeting for more staff but fewer students. And by the way, these aren't really the staff numbers.
Yep, we'll get that.
Okay, thank you.
And I feel like we have asked for some version of this before and even gotten it for a little bit on the HR sheets.
That's what I mean.
Patty, weren't you adding like some
Open
positions were
positions.
open still?
positions.
So we've asked for this kind of data and gotten it in pieces before, so I think it makes sense to have.
Thank you.
Okay. And so by type, this is another way of just looking at those same expenditures as we did by program. Some people prefer to look at it this way because it's a little bit more detailed as far as your salaries and your breakdown of benefits. Any questions on that area? Okay. So the next few pages are all the information that Joe has brought to you in the past about the facilities, the buildings, the long-range plan, capital maintenance plan for the next year. So if we go to page 79, and there we talk about the Community Service Fund levy. So the board has already approved the proposed levy for community service, and that is the breakdown of what we plan to levy for in this coming year. We updated some of the descriptions, and we hopefully are more clear to the board. The fund summary on page 83.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
quick on the last one? I apologize, but the after-school programs, I see it's like jumped significantly the, last 3 years for sure, but is that, are we capturing it different, or why is that such an increase from the proposed to last year to even, like the year before was?
Right. So remember, we have our expenditures and we have our levy. And wherever we levy in this area, we have to use those unused funds from the prior year going forward. And so if you notice around COVID year, we did not have to levy anything because we did not have any after-school programming. And so we've been using up those funds that have been levied before for that purpose, and now those have expired, and we are having to levy more just to keep that programming going.
So in other words, if we had 2019, 2020 on here, we would expect to see something in the 200,000 range?
That's correct.
Could be.
Okay.
I can look back at it.
So we've approved, though, an increase in the program the last 2 years, correct?
Correct, yep.
Yes.
Yep, it proved that represents the increased partnership with the Boys and Girls Club.
Mhm. Any other questions on Fund 80?
Again, I know I asked this when we went through the Fund 80 stuff. The 300,000 for the co-curriculars is actually a fund transfer from, correct?
Yep.
From the general fund or other?
No. It's a whole different program than just our middle school extracurriculars, because it is a community. So that means that we will extend this to private and homeschooled students that.
I understand that. I mean, the 300 was previously budgeted in a different fund, and we have shifted it because statutorily we're allowed to, right, to this fund, which has freed up room elsewhere in the budget, but puts it here in Fund 80, which is its own levy.
Great, we transferred an expense, and we're able
That's
to
what
levy the funds
thank
in
you.
Fund 80.
Yep.
Okay.
I was an English major, sorry.
All right, so on page 83, we have the fund summary. We do not include in the expenditures for Fund 10, the transfer to Fund 27, nor do we include the revenue in Fund 27 for that transfer. So those look a little out of whack, but otherwise you're counting revenues and expenditures that are not, that are offsetting and the same cost, really. This is all of the other funds that we use. We no longer have a, God bless you, we no longer have a Fund 38 because we have no non-referendum debt on our books. Any questions? Okay. And then the revenue limit, state aid, total levy, local impact, those are all numbers that are estimated at this point and will be updated for you in time to approve the levy. We feel that they're pretty close to what we're expecting. And then the tax levy components history, that breaks down for you where we are levying. So for the general fund, of that total 52 million that we are levying, the general fund is 34 million, operating referendum is 10 million, and $10.7 million, 800,000 for the capital fund, and $4,305,340 for debt. And that is our new debt that we are going to be paying off, that $14 million. And then, of course, the increase in the community service fund levy. Questions?
I have another question because I'm having fun.
Okay.
It's my understanding, last time, I think our last meeting, we still had contract negotiation going out with a certain group, correct?
Mhm.
Has that been finalized?
No.
And where does that, how, because I'm assuming there'll be some back pay or something for them? Or how's that work?
Sure. Whenever.
So you have that captured in, or you have an idea of where you're gonna be?
Mhm.
Okay. I just don't, that'd be bad if we didn't think
No,
that.
no surprises. Okay. Questions on the tax levy components? All right. How about the school levy credits? So they reduce our levy, our mill rate, those dollars go directly to the municipalities to help offset the taxpayers' portion.
Can I ask you a question about that, actually?
Mhm.
So the tax credits are allocated based on assessed value.
Mhm.
Right, so everybody saw their bill go up, right, as we've talked about. Is it correct to say then that if La Crosse's assessed values all went up as they did, but we're an anomaly in the state, we're gonna see a higher allocation of those tax credits? If nobody else's assessed value went up proportionally the same as ours did?
Yep, they're based on the municipality's share of the statewide levies, so, yeah, it's always going to be a certain amount of money that the state allocates, and then it's all the 420 school districts statewide and the municipalities in which they reside, so.
And then in terms of tax impact, you've said in the budget book here that the lottery and gaming credits are unknowable?
Yeah, we don't know those. These I can get from the municipalities. And they're also based on last year. So we won't know the impact for this year until December
So
when
we
you
do
get your
know it
tax bill.
eventually, and we can calculate in what is the actual net levy after all tax credits, but not until way later.
Just the school levy credits.
Okay.
Yeah, with the past referendum last November, we had anticipated the impact of that referendum by itself was about 40 cents.
Right.
And so had all else been equal, our levy would have been $7.65 this year. But with declining enrollment and changes in state aid and community service fund changes and all that other stuff, it came in at only 26 cents greater than we had anticipated last year. So it's means less money going to public schools, but it's also better for our taxpayers than it could have been otherwise. So that's a positive story to tell too.
All right, and so the next two, the equalized value history and the chart will be updated in October when we know all those numbers. Next time, when I come to you, I will also have the breakdown of the budget as it is published for the public hearing, so that you will be able to see what the taxpayers will be looking at before the budget hearing. And that is where you will approve the proposed budget. Okay? Any questions?
When do we get a revised version of this book with the Friday count and some of those pieces?
As they come along, I usually do it before the last meeting, so as long as I know it, it's kind of a timing thing, when we have our meetings and when you will be approving it. I think last year I was able to get the updates to you before you had to make the final decisions. And then we will always discuss them before you approve the levy and the budget.
So likely the third Monday in October, we'll see another version. And then we approve it the fourth Monday.
Yeah, the budget hearing is based on these dollars. So right after that meeting, we should have numbers before you have to approve it on the next Monday.
When are the third Friday numbers final?
Well, they're submitted to the state, I think by the end of September, they're due. October 1st is when we get the property value. And then October 15th is when we get the equalization aid. So then, at that time, we recalculate the revenue limit because we know how much then the state is going to be contributing. We know our pupil membership, and all those numbers will change. We'll also know the voucher amounts. We'll know the open enrollment in and out, and those dollar amounts. So we'll get you all those as soon as we can get them all together.
Yeah, we start spending money on July 1st for a budget we don't know the details of until October 15th. It's a funny system.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's handy to have a professional
Yes.
to help us guide us through that stuff.
All right.
Years
Any
of
other-
experience.
Any other questions on the budget?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We will then move on to the announcements. First of all, welcome to our student representatives. I will call on you in just a moment. You can we'll start with Owen and then Bethany and then Emerson. That's the way it's written here, so we'll take that. So if you want to give us a brief update on your school, but also just tell us in a sentence or two a little bit about yourself. But I have to say, before we get started, I am delighted at the engagement already in this meeting, and the fact that you even take the board president on and disagree with her makes us a better organization.
Sorry about that.
Nope, that makes, if we all sat here and agreed with everything, that would make us a less successful organization. So I appreciate that and I respect that. So, but I just want to say thank you to bringing up the comments already that you've shared with us, and I look forward to a great year with you. But I'll start with you, Owen, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then any updates from your school.
Yeah, I'm Owen Skiles. I'm a senior at La Crosse Central. I currently am coaching football for Central's program. I was originally planning to play, but I tore my ACL at a practice, and so I'm staying involved with the program however I can. We've got a handful of fun stuff going on at Central. This week is homecoming week. We have our big game Friday against Baraboo at home. Show up, should be a really good game. We played really well last Friday. Really proud of my team. We have a handful of dress-up days this week. Today was dress like Adam Sandler. I did not have any oversized clothes. I can't even raid my dad's closet because him and I are the same size. So I got picked on by all my friends, but it's fine. Tomorrow's twin day. It'll be a lot of fun. And then dance is Saturday.
Thank you. Bethany, or Brittany, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm a senior at Polytechnic. We have a dress-up week planned for the week of Halloween, which will be really exciting. I'm also the president of our party planning committee, so I'm in charge of all of that. I'm also on our school's NHS. Yeah.
Thank you. Emerson.
Hi, my name's Emerson Harsey. I'm a senior at Logan High School. We have a lot of fun things, actually. We have a new principal for what feels like a new principal for 100 years. His name's Mr. Madsen. The first thing, we had a meeting before this, actually. We wanted to go over some things if he wanted me to say anything, and something he felt was very important, and I was really happy with this, actually, as a student. He's implying more student-to-student conversations, less teacher-to-student. I don't know if he himself did some research or if he read an article or something, but he had told me that when students are able to teach the content they're learning, that's when they are able to truly grasp the information. And I always knew that in my classes, when a teacher's just sitting there and lecturing me for 40-something minutes, I tend to lose focus. So I think this will be really nice. It'll be really good. Our football team, 3-0. We do have a ARC game coming up. I will say that we have the ARC. So
After how many years of you losing it?
it's
How many years did
thank
you not hold it?
Our football team has only got better. We have a Battle for a Cause game tomorrow. I would encourage you all to be there. All the proceeds, all the shirts that were bought, the link's now down, but it's all going to a cause to help raise funds for osteosarcoma research and helping families and children who are battling themselves. Yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. I will now turn over to Mr. Bagneski for the CISA 4 Board of Control meeting update.
This is very short. I was in Omaha celebrating a grandson's birthday, and I could not make it back. Something occurred en route, so I did not make it back in time.
All right. Then we'll turn to Dr. Garcia for the La Crosse Public Education Foundation update.
Yeah, LPEF had a successful bow tie classic. You played in it?
I did. It was awesome.
It was a beautiful day. And Katie was trash talking your performance, but because I don't play golf, I didn't understand what you might have done wrong because I don't know any of the lingo. So you're still top tier in my mind because I don't know what she was saying. Yeah, a chip, something about a chip. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, a teacher won the e-bike, so that was pretty cool. The raffle ticket, one of our local teachers won. Nell is talking to staff, making the rounds to talk about payroll giving. And so she said, you could tell the board members if they want to give from their payroll. So it's a pretty easy process. I do it every month, and she gave me the little QR code to pass around. So if you're interested, she said actually if every employee in the district gave $1 more than they give right now, they could fund 10 more grants every year. So it's meaningful, the impact that they have, and it goes into classrooms and helps students through random acts of kindness, which was a similar program to what I used as a teacher to help kids when they needed glasses, when they needed things that their families weren't able to get for them immediately. Those grants really make an impact. So join me and get $5, even $5 a paycheck makes a difference. And if you want interested in that, I'll send it around. That's all we got.
Mr. Alberts and Mr. Newmeister on the City School Consortium group.
Enough said.
I did it last time.
Today we had a meeting at 3:00. Met with the mayor was there for the first time in one of these meetings, which was nice to see. And I think we really made some headway today. We've now decided that we're going to get a committee together, and they are going to the city parks board and whomever are going to have 2 people. That we'll have 2, and there's going to be like 8 total, and somebody can correct me when I'm wrong, but there's going to be 8 total. That may grow, that may decrease, but to start out with, and what we're doing is we're just looking for opportunities, ideas on what would be best for us to work together on a much-needed pool. As everyone realizes that Logan's pool is no good. Logan Northside Pools, the outdoor one, is coming to the end of its life. So we're trying to collaborate on how we can work together to not only that, but to offer competitive swimming for our high schools and work with the community to enhance that and to use it year round instead of just I learned 76 days average per year we use the outdoor pool, which we came up with that's $1,300 a day we spend on pools that a lot of times aren't being used. So we've got to look for better ways for our taxpayers and the school, but everyone else can add some more to it.
No, that's way more detail than I would have said.
So A+.
A+. No, it's a great thing that we're actually collaborating with the city. It's something that I had brought up when I first got on this board and why we hadn't in the past. So it's a great thing that we're looking for opportunities to share some things with the city. So.
Great.
Still in the exploration phase. We'll see where it takes us.
For my announcements as board president, if you'd like to schedule with Laura one-on-ones with the superintendent, feel free to do that. The other thing I wanted to mention is not listed here is an email that I got that I'll have Laura maybe forward to all of you, if you're okay with that, Laura, thank you. From the Alpha Z Delta group at the university. They have their annual Z Golden Gala benefit for the La Crosse Area School District Homeless Services. It's coming up Saturday, October 11th at 5 p.m. at the La Crosse Country Club. They support the La Crosse Area School District Homeless Services through fundraising efforts. If you want to get tickets, if you want to donate, they're interested in hearing from you. Their mission is to benefit all students to have equal educational opportunities, whether they've lost housing, have unstable housing, currently living with friends or family. So I think it's a great thing. They have great food, silent auction, raffle opportunities, and an a cappella performance by Vocal Ties. I don't know who they are, but they probably will be awesome. Anyhow, so I just want to tell you about that.
EWL's a
Okay.
acapella group, yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Engel.
I attended the gala last year. It was awesome. It's nice to see local college students raising funds for the school district of La Crosse and for our students who need it the most. So if it's something that works out for you, awesome event. We're cleaning out the Hogan Administrative Center. Here is one of the nifty things we found, including some great pictures of our school board members from the times. They look like they were hand cut out. So I will pass this around. We will continue to find artifacts to share with folks. Pass this around too. So there's a lot of material to figure out what to do with. We can't keep it all. We're memorializing what we must and what makes sense. But that's an example of some neat stuff. Governor Evers visited Hamilton Elementary School on Friday, and the visit wasn't at Hamilton, but out at Hickson Forest. And he met the students, I think 3rd through 5th grade, at the trailhead. They went on a hike, did a scavenger hunt. Governor Evers was there, Senator Brad Pfaff, Representative Tara Johnson. It was an awesome event. It was great to see those folks there. The kids had tons of questions for them, including what was your funniest moment and, how old are you, and all the other things that kids ask. So that was awesome. Governor Evers is kind enough to visit us each of the years I've been here. He likes visiting La Crosse and celebrating our schools. It's nice that we get that attention. So, and then that's pretty much all I have. Looking forward to continuing a great start to the school year.
There's 15 students from Luxembourg here in La Crosse going either to meeting with students at Central or Logan. And it's a 2-week thing, and if you haven't signed up already, maybe you can do it next year in terms of you going to Luxembourg and spending 2 weeks with students there. So, good program.
Very cool. Thank you. We'll then move on to the agenda planning portion here. We have a proposed agenda for the September 22nd meeting. Any additions or look for a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Board debriefing, we turn that over to Mr. Newmeister.
Oh, that's good. I thought it was a good meeting. I appreciate that we have our high school group back, and it's going to be nice to get to know you even more. I think it's probably not the easiest day for you to start because that budget stuff can get pretty boring as much as it's popular, but it is what makes everything go around. I think everybody had their they had their chance to give their thoughts, and I think obviously we treated each other with respect and gave everybody the opportunity to speak, as I'm very impressed on how well we do that with each other, even though we may disagree on some things. I think we give each other the time to talk and at least get out what we believe in. And I truly appreciate that. And I think, you know, the Ark's probably going to stay at Logan.
You gotta stop.
And we really appreciate that as well, so thank you.
Being surrounded by Logan right now.
Other than debate on the Ark, anything else to add to the debriefing?
Go Central.
Go Riverhawks.
I object.
Okay, with that, hearing no objections, this meeting is adjourned. There will be a workshop following in the library.
Thank you. It's a pleasure getting to know you all.